In my previous video, you saw how my daughter and I set up a 15-gallon cube in the kids' bathroom, Gamer Girl's first fish tank. And then at the end of the video, I said you better cycle your new aquarium so that your fish won't automatically get poisoned from their own waste. Tutorial over here. So what are we gonna do while we're waiting for all that beneficial bacteria and those live plants to grow? Research. In fact, once we determined how big of a tank we could get, remember bigger is better, Gamer Girl and I immediately started looking into what types of fish we could fit in it. As you probably guessed, she's very attracted to glowfish, so we started doing some research on black skirt tetras and zebra danias. So basically, I was online on the computer, she was sitting behind me, and I looked up kind of the top 5 articles on each of the animals. And as you can see, the general consensus on the internet is zebra danias can go in a 10-gallon tank and black skirt tetras in a 15-gallon tank. This is what is so hard about telling beginners to do their due diligence and research online first, because a lot of the times the internet can be wrong. So how can you tell? I even polled you guys to see what glowfish you thought could fit in a 15-gallon tank, and this is what you said. Thankfully, in the comments, many of you mentioned that there are new species available as glowfish now, so this is what Gamer Girl decided. What is this?
So it's a picture of all the fish I want.
Okay, why don't you tell me first about the glowfish X-ray tetras? Why do you want them?
I want them because it's cool that they have a stripe and their color is cool.
You like the rainbow colors?
Yeah.
Yeah, what about the Julii Cory catfish? Why did you pick those?
I like them because they are silver with stripes.
Mm-hmm.
It fits in pretty good.
And so, why do you want a mystery snail?
Because they're very colorful. There's so many colors of them.
Yeah, what color do you want to get?
Green, purple, blue, red, or yellow.
And tell me about all this research that you did. What did you write first? How big each creature gets?
I first wrote down what the size say.
And then what did you write?
The Fahrenheit of
The temperature?
The temperature.
How warm the water has to be?
Yeah.
And then what did you write?
And then I write the pH.
And then what's the last category?
Tank.
The tank
gallon.
size? Yeah. That's very good. So are they all compatible with each other?
I think so.
Yeah, good job. You did really good research.
Thank you.
After that, I called a bunch of the local pet stores and fish stores to see what availability they had for these fish, because nobody's got time to drag little kids around from store to store. All of the Pristella tetra glowfish at Petco looked pretty healthy and active. They all had the slightly rounded bellies that we want to see, so we ended up bringing home a school of 6, 2 of each color. We were also going to get the mystery snail at the same time, but I was surprised to hear the Petco employee stop us and say maybe we should wait a week or 2 to let the biological filtration catch up. My usual acclimation process is to basically just float the fish bag in the aquarium for about 20 minutes so that it matches the temperature inside the tank. And then I just pour out all of the fish store water in case it's kind of gross or icky, and then I put the fish directly into the tank. Since this is a brand new tank with brand new fish, I could basically quarantine them in the 15-gallon cube. And I personally like to use preventative medications, kind of like vaccinating a new cat or dog that comes home, so that I can get rid of any of these really common diseases that fish tend to bring home from the store. So things like ick or tapeworms. I use Maricin, which is a broad spectrum antibiotic, Paraclins for internal parasites, and then ICX for fungus and external parasites. If you want to see how that's done, I've got the link down in the description below. A week later, we went to another store, our local fish store, and we got a blue mystery snail named Snowy. And I just plopped him directly into the tank with the tetras. I don't tend to quarantine invertebrates just because they don't tend to share a lot of the same diseases as vertebrates like fish. The local fish store also had a school of the false Julii cories that we were looking for. So this time I actually printed out a list of questions for Gamer Girl to ask the store employee so that we could check, are they healthy and doing well? How long have you had them? Are they wild caught or captive bred? I've had problems with that before in the past. And in this case, everything worked out okay, but if the fish had looked bad, or if I didn't like the answers to any of the questions, we would have left and looked somewhere else. Now, because I had already begun the quarantine process in the 15-gallon tank, I can't now get new fish and then put them into the same tank halfway through the quarantine process, because then they won't have gone through the same medications, right? So I ended up setting a separate 10-gallon quarantine tank and then did the same 3 medications I talked about before. Once the tetras completed their 4 weeks of quarantine and then the corydoras finished their 4 weeks, I was able to take all the cory catfish and then add them into the 15-gallon main display tank. And the reason why we want to do this every time you get new fish, to quarantine them separately for, I personally do it for 4 weeks, is because we want to observe them, make sure they're acting healthy, they're eating well, they're not displaying any kind of weird symptoms like this, white spots on them, or they're not acting weird and they're all huddled up in a corner. Because if you add those new, now sick fish basically to your main tank, now everybody's gonna get sick and you don't want to spread that disease around. You don't have to do anything special for the quarantine setup. In fact, I usually use a clear plastic container as my quarantine setup, and I've made a simple tutorial over here on how I do it, as well as how exactly I dose the prophylactic medications that I use. Unfortunately, I ran into some unusual issues while quarantining the false Julii corydoras, so I'm gonna save that for another video for those of you who are interested. Hope you will take time to enjoy your aquariums, and I'll see you in the next video.